Hello and welcome to another video. In this video we are going to talk about thyroid hormones, and this video is dedicated for CBSE NEET UG aspirants. Stay tuned till the end of this video, and this concept is taken from NCERT class 11 textbook chapter number 22. This is the learning goal for this video. First we are going to talk about thyroid hormone production, then function, then we are going to look at and review the conditions which are associated with thyroid deficiency or hyperproduction of thyroid. Lastly, which is slightly beyond the scope of NCERT, but we are going to talk about thyroid hormone production regulation. So overall, how thyroid hormone production is regulated via several mechanisms, especially a negative feedback loop. Okay, thyroid hormones are secreted from thyroid gland. Thyroid gland is situated on your trachea and it has two lobes. These two lobes are actually interconnected by a thin flap of connective tissue known as isthmus. Thyroid gland is composed of follicles and stromal tissue. In order to understand it in details, we need to cut a cross section of thyroid gland and then see what is inside. If we cut a cross section, it would somewhat look like this. Each of these circular structures are known as thyroid follicles, and inside the thyroid follicles there is colloid, and it is lined by thyroid follicular cells. Now inside the colloid there are substances known as thyroglobulin, which you can imagine as precursor of thyroid hormone, and thyroglobulin would be processed by thyroid follicular cell to ultimately produce the thyroid hormones. Other than these important cell types, there would be blood vessel innervation which supplies this tissue with blood, and there would be connective tissue as well. Now let us look at a thyroid follicular cell in a zoomed in version and try to understand how the production happens. So any kind of hormone production needs a stimulation, and in this case the stimulation comes from the pituitary gland. Pituitary gland secretes thyroid stimulating hormone or TSH. TSH binds to TSH receptor, and this is a membrane bound receptor which results in several chemical and changes in the thyroid follicular cell. As a result of these chemical changes, thyroid follicular cell secretes thyroglobulin inside the colloid. Again, this is slightly beyond the scope of NCERT, but I think this concept is interesting and you would enjoy this. This thyroglobulin is the precursor of thyroid, and you have to remember that thyroid hormones are basically amino acid derivatives. They are derived from tyrosine. Now, second component that is crucial for thyroid hormone production is iodine, which comes from blood. It is also incorporated inside the colloid via several iodine transporters. Ultimately, inside the colloid, iodination of these thyroglobulin take place. There are several combinatorial iodination which can take place, and ultimately the thyroglobulin is endocytosed inside this thyroid follicular cell again. Now inside the thyroid follicular cell there are several enzymes which we are totally skipping, but anyway these enzymes process these thyroglobulin to ultimately produce tetraiodothyronine, or known as thyroxine, which is T4 hormone, and triiodothyronine or T3 hormone. So these are the two major thyroid hormones, right? Now once we understand how thyroid hormone is produced, let's talk about its function. Thyroid hormone play a crucial role in the regulation of BMR or basal metabolic rate. Thyroid hormones has erythropoietic effect, that means it is important in terms of production of RBCs. Thyroid hormones can broadly regulate your metabolic pathways like carbohydrate, protein, fat, etc. And then it is also important for maintenance of water and electrolyte balance inside the body. Lastly, thyroid hormone can also secrete a protein hormone which is known as thyrocalcitonin, and calcitonin along with parathormone regulate the calcium level inside the blood. It kind of determines how much calcium would be deposited into the bone and how much would be freely moving inside the blood. So all these are the function of thyroid hormones. Each of these functions are taken from NCERT book. So far so good. But now you need to conceptualize that how thyroid hormone might work at a molecular level. And the answer is also provided in the NCERT. Thyroid hormone is a iodothyronine type of hormone, right? So obviously, thyroid hormone receptors are present inside the nucleus. They are sitting on the genes and kind of ready to transcribe. But without the thyroid hormone, they are associated with a repressor. Then that is why without the thyroid hormone, there is no gene activation. Now, once the thyroid hormone attaches to this particular receptor, which is a nuclear receptor in this case, the repressor would be removed and it would be replaced by an activator. Then RNA polymerase can sit and start gene activation and transcription. So this is the molecular mechanism by which thyroid hormone performs its function. So thyroid receptors bind to thyroid hormone response elements, which are a specific region in the DNA, and these response elements are found in many genes. For example, the genes that are regulated with carbohydrate, protein or fat metabolism, all of these, many of these genes has these particular hormone response element. So we very often study in the NCERT textbook that thyroid hormone regulates fat metabolism, protein metabolism or carbohydrate metabolism. We don't understand how. Actually, thyroid hormone binds to these specific receptors which are sitting on response elements of certain genes, and these genes are transcribed and their protein product actually regulate these metabolic pathways in our body. So I hope this minute details could be really interesting for you and can clear your concept much more. Okay, now thyroid hormone deficiency can occur due to iodine deficiency in your diet, because now you understand that iodine is really important in terms of production of the thyroid hormones. And you might have heard that many of our salts, especially Tata salts, are iodinated salts, and that kind of meet our dietary requirement of iodine. But when you have iodine deficiency, in that case, you might end up having slight enlargement of the thyroid gland, generally known as goiter. Now, in case of hypothyroidism, when thyroid hormones are not adequately produced, in that case, there is a continuous need of hormone production, and the pituitary would continuously stimulate the thyroid gland to produce more and more. As a result, the thyroid gland would be slightly bigger than before, and this situation leads in goiter formation. Now, hypothyroidism is not at all good, especially during pregnancy. If mother has hypothyroidism during pregnancy, it might affect the growth of the fetus inside the womb, which might lead to stunted growth and cretinism in the newborn. Now, in adults, thyroid deficiency could also result in many diseases like mental retardation, low intelligence, deaf mutism, quiescent, and ultimately abnormal skin tones. Now, when synthesis or secretion of thyroid hormones is increased several fold to an abnormally high level, this is known as hyperthyroidism. The word hyper means kind of overproduction. And this overproduction can happen due to many reasons. One of the common reasons is cancer. So tumor in the thyroid gland might lead to overproduction of these hormones, which has adverse effect on body's metabolism and several other aspects. There could be also nodules in the thyroid gland, which results in hyperproduction of these thyroid hormones. So at the end of this video, we understand too much thyroid hormone is bad and too little is bad as well. So there should be a balanced production of thyroid hormone, which would really control body's metabolism. So question is how our body ensures a balanced level of thyroid hormone is produced. So this is kind of a homeostatic mechanism. So whenever our body senses that there is too much of thyroid hormone, body uses mechanism known as feedback loops to cut down production. So this is true for any industry, any market. or even for our body. So let's try to understand this. This is beyond NCERT scope, but this might be really interesting for you. So we know thyroid gland produces thyroid hormones, but there are upstream modulators, means hypothalamus secretes thyrotropin releasing hormone that regulates TSH release from the pituitary gland. Now TSH controls thyroid hormone production, and when thyroid hormone production is too much in the body, what happens is these hormones gives feedback to the hypothalamus and pituitary and tell these organs to cut down production of TRH or TSH. Now as a result, the stimulation of the thyroid gland would be low and ultimately lower level of thyroid hormones would be produced. So now we understand how overproduction of the thyroid hormone can be prevented by feedback mechanism inside our body. So I hope this video was informative, interesting and helpful for you. Do let me know in the comment whether you are enjoying this video or is it too much. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe. If you want to practice more questions, you can find it in the I button whenever these questions associated with this concept would be uploaded. Anyway, if you want to get in touch with me in social media, you can find my link in the description box. You can find me by this name in all the social media platforms. Thank you.